Well, comrades, I have to say that I'm not yet unaccountably an exile. I'm a little bit perplexed why that is so. I was a candidate for the NEC, standing on a platform for socialist policies in protest at the purge. And despite the opposition of both the right wing and the official left, I'm proud to say that I was nominated by 65 constituency Labour parties, and I lasted up to round 30 out of a total of 37 ballots. And what this shows is that there's still today, even after the wholesale purge, there still is some life left in the Labour Party. Now, I've been a member of the Labour Party for most of the last 6 decades, except, of course, for the long New Labour years. But I've seen 9 successive leaders come and go. And we've had plenty of right-wing purges and crackdowns before, but never on a scale like this. Not under Gaitskell, not under Kinnock, not under Blair. The party machine is hell-bent on driving out the 500,000 members who surged into the party to support a left leader. First by demoralizing the membership and plunging them into despair, and of course, where necessary, by mass expulsions, suspensions, special measures, shutdowns of party branches. Angela Rayner spelt it out in so many words. She said, "We will expel thousands of party members." And they know that for every one member they suspend, maybe 1,000 will walk out in protest or drop out in despair. Members are leaving the party in their tens and hundreds of thousands. This isn't the first witch hunt by any means, but never before has it been so vast, so sweeping, and so dirty. And why is that? Because the ruling class got the fright of their lives when Jeremy Corbyn was elected leader twice on a landslide vote. Starmer is desperately trying to reassure them that Labour is now safe again and open for business, as under Blair. Hence the unprecedented tsunami of suspensions and the grotesque lies. And although the wholesale expulsions of the left in the old days were always vindictive, malicious, and unconstitutional, they were at least frankly political. People were expelled for their political ideas, outrageous, but nevertheless for ideas that they were correctly ascribed to them. What's happening now is that the only pretext for their expulsion in those days was that they organized to promote their ideas, as if the right-wing officials infesting the party headquarters were not themselves constantly scheming and plotting behind the scenes. And we've seen recently to what a vile extent. But this is literally the closest parallel in modern times to the original witch hunts of the 17th century. People are condemned without trial, just like now. For anyone accused of any, most outrageously, the accusation of anti-Semitism, but that or anything else. And once accused, the victim is already branded, reviled, condemned. And anyone protesting at that injustice, anyone defending them from that charge, now as then, is automatically condemned in turn. There is no means of legitimate defense. We have literally, it's almost breathtaking. It's almost unbelievable. We have a kind of Alice in Wonderland justice. First the sentence, then the verdict, and only then, if at all, the trial. But actually nowadays, mostly, they don't even bother having a trial. You're simply suspended by decree. We also have, together with that, by the way, the perpetuation of the lie, which we have to constantly nail, that Labour's results in 2019 was the worst result since 1935. The fact is, if I think the best measure of a party's support is how many votes it gets. And if you look at it from that criterion of the number of votes, never mind that in 2017, Corbyn got an absolute avalanche of votes, comparable and in some ways better than 1997. If you exclude Scotland, it was a better result even than Blair's in 1997. But even in 2019, Labour under Corbyn won more votes than it did under Miliband in 2015, under Brown in 2010, and even more votes than even Blair got in the 2005 election. Now, more than 100 CLPs have defied instructions and passed resolutions in support of Corbyn or no confidence in Evans, including mine. We're, of course, still waiting for the knock on the door. The parties are being suspended, put in special measures, etc. At my local CLP, we passed a motion of no confidence in the party leadership by an overwhelming vote. We also proposed a motion calling for free speech within the party, and we were told that both of those motions were not competent business. And I'm just wondering, under what rule can it be unconstitutional to move a vote of no confidence in the leader? Was it constitutional for our current leader, out of personal spite, to unilaterally remove the whip from his predecessor as party leader after his party membership had been unconditionally reinstated by the elected National Executive Committee? And as for free speech being not competent business, I mean, again, words fail me. The only other place I can think of at the moment, well, not the only other place, but the most outstanding other place at the moment where free speech and no confidence in the leader are unconstitutional is in Putin's Russia. Now, we're told that the purpose of this crackdown is to ensure that the Labour Party remains a safe and welcoming space. Still more Alice in Wonderland logic. Is this how you make it safe and welcoming? By refusing us the right of free speech, by threatening to shut us down? As a Jewish member of the Labour Party, I'm very grateful, by the way, for Mr. Evans' concern to ensure that the Labour Party remains a safe and welcoming space for Jewish members. I just wish it could be trusted to keep it a safe and welcoming space for socialists. And my proposal, a serious proposal I've got to make to Keir Starmer, is first of all, we have this completely redundant anthem of the Labour Party. It's called the Red Flag. I mean, do we want that really, the Red Flag? And particularly the references within it to cowards flinching and traitors sneering. I mean, that doesn't make it a very safe and welcoming space for most of our MPs, for a start. And then, as I think it was Chris Knight mentioned about, the party anthem, the red flag. We need that red flag. I mean, Rule Britannia surely would be a much more appropriate anthem for the party now. And then just one other thing. This name, Labour Party, I mean, it's a bit obsolete, isn't it? And it's a bit divisive. Surely, we could find something a bit more appropriate. Conservative Party would be would fit the bill, surely, far better. Well, Starmer thinks he can repeat the experience of New Labour, but that was at a time when New Labour was awash with big business donations and the support of the Murdoch press. Its role was to carry forward the programme of Thatcher once the Tories themselves were too discredited to do it. But in the boom conditions of that time, New Labour was still able to carry through some reforms, the minimum wage, the Good Friday Agreement, a programme of capital investment, albeit under the so-called private finance initiative. But when the crash came in 2008, they quickly dispensed with the services of New Labour. Today, in the worst slump for over 300 years, there's no room left for Blairism, New Labour, moderation, a third way. There is no middle way. The choice is between a capitalism, red in tooth and claw, or a socialist programme. That's why Starmer will never succeed in his doomed attempt to follow in Blair's footsteps. Now, what do we do? It's time to fight back. First of all, full support for the belated call by the campaign group of Labour MPs, Unite, the Fire Brigades Union, the Bakers Union, and Momentum and others for an immediate recall conference. Very good, that's long overdue. But to leave it at that is pointless, simply just making a token call. Do they really seriously think that David Evans and Keir Starmer are going to call a recall conference? So what's the next step? Let those who have at last summoned up the courage to make this call, let them take responsibility for convening such a conference themselves. Unite, Momentum, and all the rest of them represent the vast majority, or at least a huge proportion of the Labour Party membership. It's time to take the plunge. It's time to call a conference and to take back control of the Labour Party out of the hands of these people who thieved it from the membership. So a split in the Labour Party is not just a distant prospect. It's already happening now. That's not due to wrecking tactics by the left. It's being pursued with the utmost vigour and determination by the right. They're determined to drive the left out, to transform the Labour Party back into a tame network of aspiring careerists. It's a one-sided civil war. There is no other conceivable outcome. The split in the Labour Party has already begun. And let's make it clear, I am not calling for a split. Starmer and Evans and Rayner are making one. We mustn't fragment or dissipate our forces, but we must join together as the real backbone of Labour. Join up the suspended CLPs and individual members into a national network, and well done to Labour in Exile Network for making a start on that, and calls for support from the party's trade union base. Because finally, comrades, a new party will not be created out of thin air. No individual, no matter how charismatic, has ever succeeded in launching a new mass socialist party in Britain. It didn't happen when James Maxton and the ILP group of MPs left the Labour Party in 1931. And they, after all, were giants with a proud history in founding Britain's first mass workers' party before the Labour Party. Not Arthur Scargill, who had led the biggest strike in British history since the General Strike. Not George Galloway, who, whatever else we think of him, had at least defied Labour to win a historic by-election as an independent. And that's to say nothing of all the myriad ultra-left sects and little parties on the fringes. The key to building a mass workers' party lies, as always, with the trade unions, who formed the original Labour Party. That's where the fight has to be taken. It's up to the trade unions either to reclaim the Labour Party or replace it to found a genuine socialist party of Labour. And that's not an unrealistic prospect. In 2004, the RNT and the FBU both disaffiliated from Labour. As recently as 2015, Unite threatened, in effect, to launch an alternative party. And of course, just recently, it's cut its funding to the Labour Party and protested its direction. It's through the trade unions and the newly insurgent Labour branches and militants that the millions of victims of capitalism will find their true voice. The workers without a job, the families without homes, the youth without a future. We have the potential to build a mass socialist movement to challenge this government of the speculators, hedge fund sharks, and black money launderers. The time has come. We are in the midst of a worldwide uprising, from Chile and Ecuador to Black Lives Matter in the USA, to Nigeria, Sudan and Algeria and Africa, to Belarus in Europe, to India, which has had strikes of 250 million workers, and with 300,000 peasants occupying the capital city and besieging it at the present time. In Myanmar, the list of countries where we haven't had uprisings would be a bit shorter than the ones where we have. So we, comrades, we're in tune with the times. So let's go forward with confidence. Thanks, comrades.